Hello, my name is Bosko Popovic. I'm energy healing coach and teacher. And in this video, I'm going to continue talking about stress as I did in the previous three videos. And more importantly, I am going to share with you one particularly powerful technique that will actually help you to kind of like understand and kind of prevent any possible buildup of a strong stress response that might happen if you are not 100% aware what is going on with you in any particular moment. And I think I've actually disclosed what this technique might be, and it's very simple in terms of kind of like understanding its meaning, because it is simply you must always be in the moment. Or, in other words, you must live in now, because there's no other time apart from this particular moment. What we call the passage of time is the endless and the continuous nows, because everything happens in this particular moment, and there's no other time anywhere in a space-time quantum that actually can be located except the now that we are in at any moment. So why is this important? You may be asking yourself. Well, principally, all you can ever do in any form or shape or anything is in the moment. We're planning something now to happen in some now in the so-called future, but whatever you're planning is simply a plan. It's not execution. Whilst anything else that's happening to you is actually happening to you now, because you allow that to happen now through actually, how can I say, the allowing the previous events or situations that have accumulated in the past nows, that have accumulated in the present moment through something that's called the negative thoughts, negative emotions, which are then creating the moods. And mood is in particularly important state because it actually is fed constantly from your omnipresent or continuous, uninterrupted thoughts and the emotions which are constantly backing up your mood, whatever it might be, because there's so many of them. But because we're here talking about stress, the particular ranges of moods that are beneficial to create a stressful situation for you or stress response, that you are actually physically engaging into something that really doesn't merit to be treated as such. Because if you observe anything happening to you here and now, is that threatening? And if it is, in what way it is threatening to you? More importantly, whatever you perceive as being threatening, what is the actual category of threat that you're actually seeing and perceiving that is causing you the stressful response, that you're unable to shake off, and you're being caught in that particular state of paralysis, in where you're both mentally and physically imprisoned in some form of fear. Fear of what? And this is where we're now going deeper into understanding the philosophy of being in the moment. Because the fear has two faces. It's a very useful tool or very useful emotion that actually help you to engage in a situation which you perceive as a danger to your physical life. Now, in that case, it is extremely useful emotion because it does two things. It engages neurologically your whole body, your whole nervous system, with that your muscular system, and prepares you to either fight, to go through the problem, or flight, run away from the problem. Whatever the problem might be. It could be a lion, it could be a knife attack, it could be anything that you deem danger to your physical life. And situations are literally limit, they have no limits, they are endless. So we're not going to talk about these individual situations because you know what I'm talking about. We all know what the life situations, life-threatening situations are, so there's no need to dwell on that one. And here we're talking about that. That is useful tool to employ and get you either through or out of that particular situation. But you're engaging your whole body with it. And once that's finished, then you determine through your being in the moment. First of all, when you're in the moment, you define that as being the case. Then in using the consecutive moments to do something about it, to get yourself out of that predicament. And once you've actually resolved that problem, being in a particular moment when you determine this particular fact by simple observation of your environment, you then start to calm down. This is a natural way of reaction that your body is designed for. What the body is not particularly designed for is a continuous, irrational fears that are building up from moment to moment, that are generated by uncontrolled buildup of unpleasant events, situations, people, you name it, whatever, that over the period of time has saturated your subconscious mind with so much, let's call it rubbish, that it is impossible to differentiate anything logically, to be processed logically, in terms of to understand your position in the external reality. Because there's so much of it. And you're literally choking yourself in that particular, I would say, neurological waste, or basically buildup of all that negativity that simply is exploding. And that explosion is created through your moods, which are then being driven by your thoughts and your emotions, which are then feeding into your moods, and it's created this constant loop of never-ending feeding of negative possibilities and scenarios and whatever it is that you're going through all the time, without you being actually able to mentally focus on what is really happening in your external reality here and now. And what I mean with that is simple observation of where you are. For instance, where are you here and now? Here and now, where are you? Like I am sitting on my chair in my study, in my house, and I can notice all the furniture and everything else, and the place is perfectly safe. There's no particular reason for me to feel fear or to feel anything. However, if I keep myself mentally focused on this particular moment and keep this particular focus on this reality, I will then be able to distance myself from the internal news feeding line that continuously bombards from my subconscious mind, that are driven by my current mood, whatever that current mood be. If I'm being stressed, it could be either that melancholy, or I don't know, slightly depressed, or sort of anxious, or tense, or God, you name it, whatever it might be. In order to basically confirm this particular mood, my subconscious mind is now going to create a movie through the particular thoughts that will engage my emotions. And as I said in my previous videos, thoughts are of electric nature and the emotions are of magnetic nature. So they create the electromagnetic force. And that electromagnetic force then engages your entire bioenergy field. And with that, you not only start to track these particular things you are actually afraid of or you are focusing on, you're also creating that particular scenario in your head, and you're actually sort of like paving your life. By paving your life, you're attracting these events. So this is like being in the first person. In the first person, living in your world of thoughts and the emotions that are created by your subconscious mind, that creates this gravy train of God knows what, that spurs out of you uncontrollably, and you're so much involved in it, mentally and emotionally, that you do not see and do not 100% understand where you are in your physical world. You may be driving the car, you may be working, doing your regular daily work, or you may be going shopping, or whatever you might be doing, cleaning the house. But you're doing that literally with very little percentage of your conscious awareness. Very little. Because the possibility is that the great majority of your focus, mental focus, is devoted on this continuous loop of made up stuff that happened to you in the past, what have you, and are now completely blanking your conscious awareness. So much so that you really have no understanding where you are here and now. And you're living some imaginary thing. You're afraid of something that has no particular relevance to where you are in this particular moment. And you're actually going on through the continuous sequences of nows, which are called passage of time, living this superficial, self-made story that has nothing to do with what you need to be doing in terms of maximizing your performance in now, because you're doing whatever you're doing with very little cognitive ability, because you're doing it on autopilot. So you're basically minimizing the effectiveness of what you're doing physically in the moment, but nevertheless you're spending a lot of time on superficial stuff. Okay, so this is what is the actual cause. Now, how can we actually revert all this and start to change things around? This is easier said than done, but nevertheless, we have to create a starting point. And this is what we're doing in this particular video. And the starting point is that you really start to, in one way, accept what is going on in your conscious sphere of these loop of thoughts and emotions that are coming in through. You understand your mood, okay? You cannot argue with it because that's what you're actually going through, so that's given. There's nothing much you can do about it right now to change unless you know how to do it effectively, which you can learn, but it takes a lot of time to master this particular technique. And what you can do now is at least become aware of where you are in this particular moment. Very, very important. So you can do it by simply taking a deep breath and trying to calm down as much as you can as you're calming down through your continuous deep breathing and very slow breathing with the deep exhalations and deep inhalations. You will slow down your brainwave activity, and with that you will slow down all this negative feedback that is going on. It will continue, but it will be slowed down. Very important. As you start to slow down this particular feedback of negative, whatever it is you're going through, you are now able to start to grasp mentally where you are here and now. That is the first point of your empowerment. Because here you can start to understand the triggers of your states. And the triggers are your thoughts and the emotions that are freely running and doing havoc in your conscious mind without you actually questioning their validity and how do they actually conform to the reality that you are expressing here, that you're actually seeing and you are actually witnessing here and now. As I said before, when you are into these thoughts and the emotions and when you are feeling the way you're feeling, you're literally in the first person, which means you're doing that with all your cognitive power. It means you are mentally focusing on that. As you're mentally focusing on that, as I said earlier, you're creating the electromagnetic field that now occupies your whole being and that actually makes you the reality. So for that reason, you only see that and you think this is your reality, despite the fact that you are actually physically existing in somewhere else, in a traffic, in a house, cleaning, doing your regular work, walking your dog, or whatever you might be doing. Whatever you're doing, that is secondary to what you are experiencing in your mind. Now, this is a very different experience altogether. What one dominates is the one you're actually seeing in first person, whilst what you're doing, you're really seeing that with the corners of your conscious awareness. And you're doing it literally with very little mental focus and with literally sides or leftovers of your conscious awareness. The trick is to change and swap the actual places. Why is it a trick? Because it's not easy. And what I mean by that is that you become totally focused on the present moment to start with. And once you actually do that, then you can start to mentally visualize yourself through the special techniques that I can teach you, because it's very complex for me to give here on the video, because I really have to do it step by step. But basically it is, that you get yourself out of your current situation and you displace yourself in a circle of 360 degrees and you observe yourself from a different position within that circle in order to understand as a third person observing yourself in your world when you're feeling stressed and stuff like that, and at the same time comparing your entire surrounding in the physical world is, do these things make sense? So it's a bit complex, and so I need to, that's why I need to do a lot more preparation and build up in order for all this to make sense. But this is basically how it works. So from you being in your first person, being 100% involved into this, now you need to basically remove yourself and become an observer of yourself. So it means you're splitting yourself in two parts consciously. Now this is why there's a lot of work to be done, but it's a very powerful technique. So why is it powerful? Because when you start observing yourself as a third person, you're still feeling the feelings. You're still seeing what you see when you're in the first person. But here as a third person, you're seeing way more than what you can see as a first person. What I mean with that, now you understand the actual feelings that are going through and the thoughts and stuff like that. You understand the mood you're going through. But whilst you're doing that, you're also seeing the environment you're in. And the key question here now is, does the environment you're in and the situation that you're in now, in this particular moment, merits that you feel what you're feeling and thoughts that you are actually engaging? Are they correlated? Is there something that actually bonds them? This is the key sort of link that you're looking for. And if you cannot find the link, then whatever's going on in your mind through your thoughts and emotions is irrelevant, or we can also call it the sort of incongruent and irrational. Which means it's nothing to do with what you're doing here and now. So why is that important? You say, I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about something that will happen in the future. Okay, no problem, but go back. Is it what you're thinking causing you stress? Is the stress necessary? If it is, why is it necessary? Very important. How is that going to help you to define whatever you want to do in the future, going through the stress response here and now, when there's no need for that? So everything has to be in the context. This is called the mastery of oneself. When you start to implement this particular technique, although it's quite complex, it's not as simple as I presented here. The complex is that you need to build. You need to build your body. You need to start understanding your emotions, your thoughts, your emotions. Then you can actually start seeing all the causes that are leading you to your particular state, which is your moods, and then splitting yourself in two, and then observation, and then also being aware of your physicality in any moment in time. Your sort of what space do you occupy, and how does a particular environment relate to your emotional response, whatever it may be. You will then be able, through a particular comparisons, make a very clear decisions of what is going on in your mind, and whatever is going on in your mind, does it really truly reflect what is going outside in your reality? Is your time well spent thinking what you're thinking? Or you can start using more productive thoughts and emotions that actually help you to maximize whatever you're doing here and now. And that is amplifying your focus on achieving whatever it is you want to achieve in this present moment. The moment you start swapping things around, you become not only empowered, with that empowerment, you become more focused and more productive. And that feeds you with the positive emotions that are giving you that positive kick back into your subconscious mind, that you are in control, as opposed to that you are being controlled. Two different things. And you start changing those two positions of observation of your reality, you're automatically changing what you're doing and how you're actually sort of achieving whatever it is you're trying to achieve here and now. And when you start doing that, your empowerment will feed focus. Your focus will then feed positive return with the positive thoughts and emotions that will then give you more focus and everything else to be in the moment. And with that, you will then start not only to combat stress and to control stress on your body. Bear in mind, as I said earlier on my previous videos, stress is always present. There's nothing you can do about it, but you can control it. And this is one of the most powerful ways in which you can actually control the effects of stress. And more importantly, how to control it by simply changing your understanding of where you are in your physical reality, become aware of it, and start to be, critically looking at your current position by looking at from the position of neutral observer as a third person, and in that you're automatically changing the whole energetic substance of your being, and with that you're changing your focus, and everything else will start to fall into place. I hope this little monologue makes sense. And if you would like to know more about this, you're more than welcome to contact me on my details. I'm going to put it below this video. And please send me your messages about your thoughts, and I will be answering any questions you may be having. And I will see you in the next video.